Well, hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Wild Your Garden. Hope you're all well. And today I am back at a site I created 12 years ago now. This is probably the best wildflower meadow I have created in my 17 year career, and it's one that is doing absolutely wonderfully. I will be coming back to visit this site, and there is already a video on the channel about the befores and after, and just how good this site is for wildlife, so I'll put a link to that video in at the end of this one. However, today I want to answer a bit of a question that a lot of you have been asking over the last year or two, and that is, what does a wildflower meadow look like in winter? Now, we all have these wonderful visions of how they look in the summertime with blazes of colours, blues, purples, whites, yellows, reds, and they do look absolutely stunning. However, one thing that does put some people off, not many but a few I think, is just how these landscapes look in the winter time. And before we go any further and look at that, just a reminder, if you haven't already, guys, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help, and obviously gives you access to all this free content that you guys get, and hopefully helps create many more habitats around the world. It's just so good to see so many of you emailing me and messaging me to just show me exactly what you've been doing, which is really, well, quite humbling actually. It's a really nice thought to know that so many of these videos are being used to help create habitats from the States right the way through to Asia and Australia. It's just absolutely fantastic. So keep up the great work, guys, and do subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and you'll be sure to receive a notification then, of course, when I do post the next video. So hopefully you can do that, and it just helps boost the channel, of course, and helps raise awareness around the world, and which is obviously a great thing. So yes, however, let's look at how a wildflower meadow looks in winter. Now, I know most of you are probably saying, well, I don't have an acre and most of you don't. I don't. But this is how a meadow looks in winter. Now, the next question you're probably asking is, why is that meadow still standing? Why hasn't it been cut? Well, for good reason. This site is a very poor site in terms of fertility in the soil. So there's not a lot of growth. And actually, when you see, this is about as tall as it gets, or if in this part behind me, is quite often as tall as it gets in the summertime. Great for wildflowers. Of course, they're not getting swamped out by all our native grasses, thistles, nettles, docks, which of course need fertility to thrive. That's for another video. Don't worry about paying too much attention to that right now. And we do get deer on this site, so they have been nibbling at the tops of these samphuan, which is a beautiful wildflower, really vibrant pink, fantastic wildflower, very good for bees. But the deer have kind of been doing a little bit of grazing. Sheep as well, not sheep, no, wish there were sheep. Great way of managing a meadow. Rabbits, a lot of rabbits on this site, so they do keep a lot of it trimmed down. However, I have mown some pathways through here through the season. I'll take you down one of the paths now. So in essence, you want to be leaving a bit of a mosaic. Now, if your meadow is more fertile than this, again, you can hardly tell it's a path because the vegetation around it is so sparse. Again, great for floral diversity. And I do just want to show you, when I can find one, I was stumbling across loads a minute ago. Bear with me. Here we go. This is what we're looking for. If you can make head or tail of that, and that, and that, and that, and that. This site is absolutely littered, and I mean littered, with bee orchids, which are just absolutely incredible as a wildflower. Bee orchids, how they've done it, I've no idea. But bee orchids, absolutely incredible, because they have evolved to replicate what looks like a bee to attract other bees to the flower to pollinate them. Plants don't have eyes. How have they done this? I've no idea. Mind-blowing stuff. Anyway, that's what they've done, and bee orchids are a cracking little orchid. They only get to about 6 inches on this site because it is so poor. They love sandy and calcareous, which means, you know, kind of alkaline soils, sort of chalk, limestone. But this is a sandy site, so they love it here, and there's over 500 500 within less than an acre, which is just phenomenal in the summertime. I get slightly distracted by the stuff that's on this site, so apologies. There's a mown path. Back to what I was saying about. So mown paths really do add to a meadow for sure, but by leaving a bit of a mosaic, and I'll show you now, one of the reasons you should is because things like goldfinches obviously need they need food through the winter. You know, they don't go and hibernate like a lot of species do, and they absolutely love teasels for one. So we've got a lot of teasels here. You can see not too many because they can be a bit pernicious when they want to be. There's a lot more on that bank which is left uncut for voles, mice, and we do actually get barn owls and kestrels hunting through the winter, which is fantastic. It obviously provides year-round cover for them to hunt through. Never ever cut a meadow wall to wall. Leave some margins of longer stuff. You've got overwintering caterpillars. You've got overwintering, eggs, of course, in the term of moths and butterflies. We've got insects galore. Really, it is just the best management technique is to leave a mosaic. And now I will actually cut this back probably a bit later in the season. It's 1st of February today, so really lovely day. It's actually quite warm. I don't really need my hat on, to be fair, but these meadows can be designed to be cut at different times of year. I have done a video previously on the best time to cut a wildflower meadow, so do check that out on the channel. It's not too long back in September on the channel, so which is generally when I do most of my hay cuts. However, this one, because it is so sparse, I can leave it through the winter, because all the little stems, I'm not going to be able to find one now, all the little dead stems, this is great in knapweed as well, by the way, which is another really good one for seeds for things like the goldfinches. Lovely little sort of cups when they finish flowering. But quite often you'll find in the hollow stems, in some of the bigger vegetation, you'll find ladybirds overwintering and that sort of stuff. So dead vegetation, what I would say in this video, the one thing to do, and this is regardless of whether you have an acre's worth of meadow or 5 square meters worth of meadow, or even herbaceous borders, don't cut them back. Obviously it's a bit late if you're watching this now and you've cut them back in October, a bit like we do traditionally throughout the UK. We are tidy freaks, it has to be said. We have to stop that. We have to leave our gardens through the winter for all the invertebrates to carry out their life cycle and have somewhere to hide, simply put. So leave your vegetation, whether it's herbaceous border, or parts of your meadow, leave some through the winter for all the invertebrates and everything else to sort of hide and stay a little bit warmer than getting freezing cold. So that's the message for this video, guys, is to leave some of your vegetation. A meadow in general, after it's had a hay cut, if you think, well, actually I'm going to have a meadow but I'm going to cut it in autumn, it will just look like a slightly longer mown lawn. If you do cut your meadow, just keep it to 2 or 3 inches, because at the bottom and all of those grass tussocks and everything else, there'll be a wealth of insects, caterpillars and everything else. In the UK alone, we've got 7 species of butterfly that lay solely on grasses, which is a little under, it's about an eighth of all species in the UK of butterflies actually lay on grass, and moths as well, some of them. So yes, really do, it really is important to leave your vegetation longer, even your meadow if you cut it on a higher setting. Anyway, that's this site. I will be back again throughout the year to do some more work. We've got more management to do on the banks. We've got 2 big banks where all the topsoil was put after it was stripped, which are really filling in nicely. We've had breeding white throat, yellowhammer, chiffchaff in there, really fantastic for that. So there's a little bit of work going to go on those shortly, just to clear the paths through on tops of the banks. Other than that, I'll be back probably March time, once things start emerging again, March, early April possibly, to finish the rest of the hay cut and get this site ready for the spring. So stay tuned for more updates available. Obviously, if you're looking to buy any of the native wildflowers, bare root, trees and shrubs, check out the Wild Your Garden website. We have a whole new host of varieties available on there. Any questions, drop them in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. Feel free to subscribe to the channel and the YouTube, and give the video a like if you've enjoyed it, and I'll be sure to bring you many more videos very soon. Cheers.